Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Sit down here. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Um, so here we are. Get this out of the way. We're going to cut this all out and finish up the body parts. We'll probably get them into pieces. We'll glue them all up in the next video. I believe, so I was watching my videos and saw this, and it's a neat little design. I think it's a little weak over here. So what I'm going to do is go from here up to a point up here and make this a little bit bigger of a control surface, but we'll cross that when we get to it. So first thing I like to do is get these down into manageable pieces. So nice sharp blade, and we're going to just cut close to it. This will give us, maximize our scrap. Get this out of the way. Again, nice sharp blade always helps. Go through, cut this. There we go. Now we can start cutting. So we use a ruler on our straight cuts, of course, and start with those. So put this right on our line. I'm going to make a small mark just over here. What that does is it lets me know where the transition is and where to begin my cut, because it's hard to see. And again, it doesn't matter if I mark up all this now, because we're going to peel all the paper. And so we take, keeping a nice straight 90-degree with our blade, we're going to press down in, and we're just going to pull across and completely off. That gets one cut there. Turn this around. I always like to pull towards myself. I come into the cut, and we just follow that line right along, just like that. Of course, we keep all our scrap. Got a little piece right there. We'll just clean that up. Scrap goes to the side. Always important to make sure you got really good lighting when you're doing this, so you can see your marks nice and clean. Cut that off. Now this is a straight line, so we'll go ahead and bring our ruler back in. Sorry about the dogs going a little crazy. It is Christmas time, and we are getting, probably like everybody, lots and lots of deliveries. Come around, chop that off. Do this one. So an easy way to get nice rounded stuff is just to keep making small slices right around, following down, and just cutting a little bit off at a time till we get it nice where we want. Get rid of some of these scraps. Come around this way. And we're just going to continue following our line. Straight up and off. there. Again, this is a curved line, so we can't use our, get this better in the light for me. And just trim right along. The entire time I'm trimming this stuff, one of the important things is I've got my fingers pressed down. Sometimes it's only one, sometimes it's two or more, depending on how I'm holding. I usually try to hold like this, and then I rest fingers down or rest my whole palm down and just pull along. That helps keep everything nice and squared up as you're pulling along a line. All right, in here. So I'm going to start right here, and again I keep it level, press down in, and then when you're doing any straight line, having it angled like this keeps that blade straight and it pulls a straighter line. When you're going towards little turns and stuff like that, that's when you want to have it a little more up so that you can make those turns nice and easy. And don't be worried if you don't get it cut on that first little try. You can come back in, again real careful like, and just follow that through till you get down to where you're happy. Alright, so now here, I'm going to come through, we're going to make another little mark to let us know where we're going to start our cut. This is another straight cut, and we can see where we've cut through there, and go to there, and we're going to just press down in, and follow along our cut, till we feel it release. Sorry, I'm getting my head in. You gotta see. If we've done this right, it should release here. Yes, it did. Excellent. And we're gonna continue our cut now. We know that we started it there, so we'll come a little past that line. Again, more at an up angle because we're making a turn. And we're gonna follow our turn. Be afraid to pick it up and turn it however is comfortable for you. If you don't feel right making this cut line like I just did, again I'm raising back up to be able to make this turn. And like I say, don't be worried if you don't get it cut first time through, you know. It's alright. You can come back along, even like this here where I've got a little tag. Right, I'm just going to come in real gentle, got a sharp blade, and we're just going to gently trim that right out like that. Boom. Okay. I do have a straight cut I can go through here, so right there is where that transition goes, so we're going to make that straight cut. Sorry about the squeaking chair. There we go. Oops. Made that line on the wrong side. Can't see. There we go. Again, I'm just showing you, how I do stuff. Do what's comfortable for you. This is just what's comfortable for me. Come back in, find our cut, and we're just gonna whip that out like that. That should release that piece. And see, this is what happens with some of those transitions. You end up with little slices of paper, which is fine. We'll just come back in, trim those right out. All right, it's looking good. I'm very happy with it. So in this, I'm going to come into that point right here. I'm going to push on down and then start my curve just like that. Then I'll come back in here right to that point, push down, trim off. I'm a little off there, so I'm going to come back and I'm just going to try to Trim that a little bit off like that. Perfect. And that's one side. And a little bit right here. You can always see on the other side when something's not quite right. So just trim that like that. Perfect. You can always sand this too if you've got a little bit of a differentiation and you want to clean it up a bit. Go to our second one. I'm going to do the same process. So transition, say here. Transition is here. Excellent. And we'll repeat the process. Right on our line, got our transition. Actually, this is a little tougher, so we're going to flip it. That way our ruler is much more steady. We don't have a lot of meat here to rest our ruler on. So we're going to change it up. Come on down. And we're going to pause here, pull our ruler. Re-angle this so it's more comfortable because we're curving out this way. And again, dragging my fingers so it's nice and easy. Don't slip. And just ever so slightly turning, we get our piece cut. Better light. Coming straight onto it. Make our first cut. Find where we're happy. Okay. Trim that off. Start to make our corner. Cut here. Cutting it off. Trimming a little bit at a time. Excellent. Excuse me. Now, I'm going to start into that cut. Here we go. And just come on around. Following that line. Right on through. Next is this cut. Again, get into our light. We can always adjust the light a little bit so we can see better. And that was not straight up and down. There we go. And we're trimming right along. Boom. Alright. Getting very happy with that. We need to make a mark right here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to start it off right here. I feel comfortable. If you do not, by all means, jump in, grab that ruler. See how I'm adjusting as I go, keeping that line in the light where I can see it, and then just pulling right straight down it. Boom. Alright. These lines here I like to keep as straight as possible. I can see I've angled on this cut right here. So I'm just going to trim that up just a little bit. Make that square. I'm happier with that. Alright, so now our straight cut. Get those marks lined up. Find our original cut line. Perfect. And we'll just come across. Stop and pause at our line where it's going to transition now. And we go straight up. Make our turn. Just like that. Come down a little bit for the straightness. Lift back up to make the turn. And just cut along our line. Did well. Comes out beautiful. A little bit of a tag there, but that's not a big deal. Alright. Time to finish off our cuts. We're going to make a mark there. Come in with our ruler. On the mark, on the mark. Sometimes when we transfer that pattern, we're not always on. You know, pattern can move. Lines get a little bit wiggly because of how we cut the pattern out. That's just the nature of it. Make this little swoopy cut. Got some last little cuts to go. So again, we go, put our blade right at that point, press down, come across, lift up to make that turn. And then I'm just gonna do the same here, straight down, and then use that straight blade. That was a better cut that time. All right. So now we've got our pieces cut out, but we still need to put in the actual spaces. So remember, we're not cutting these out. All right. And so I'm going to get my longer ruler here. And what I do is I come into here and I try to find the common line on all these, which seems to be there. And I'm going to make that mark all the way across. Okay. You see, you know, some of these were off. It doesn't matter now because, and why I did these is if that line's off, it doesn't matter. I'm more worried about this line being straight, which is why I mark these so that when I go to make the actual cuts here, which are going to be the spaces, I've got a nice clean straight line, and that's what's important. I'm going to flip this over. So this is 3/16, which is how thick the foam board is. Get that lined up. Make our line all the way straight across. And that's what we've got. Okay. So we'll mark the other one up this way. What we're going to do here is we're going to make marks now. We're going 1 inch. You see how this is just a little bit more, which is fine, but I want that 1 inch mark on that. Same everywhere as I go. I've got 2 inches, so make that at that 1 inch mark. Come on over to the next one. Now things adjusted, so not everything's falling exactly right. Dead on, especially as we go over to here. This is a 2 inch foot, so 1, 2, split that. Especially as we get over to this side of it, I can't go right off of that. See, there's about 1/8 of an inch difference in what's going on. So we're gonna make a mark here. We want to try to keep it in 2 inches. It doesn't really matter. That's going to be our void anyways. But especially at the end over here, we're on that 1/2 inch mark. So we'll go over to here, make our mark at 1 inch, and then we get that little extra over there. And so these are going to be our feet. Just to show what's going to happen. For me, I prefer the top to be the first foot. So basically, and I don't do this when I'm cutting it by myself, because I know which one's going to go which way. But just for y'all, we're going to come in here and we'll do this. Now you see how that keys in. right? So in the opposite piece, this will be a void, right? And so I like to continue that as I come along the top, the bottom key, or foot, or whatever you want to call it. Then we come over to here, and for this is where I'm going to change things up a little bit in the step. Okay, so this one, we're going to do the bottom foot and the top foot. And the reason why I'm doing that here, and this is just my personal preference, I don't know that it really makes all that difference, but I want this to be a meatier piece, so it's a little more strength in here where it's going to hit that way. And then of course over here, the tail comes down, so again we want that meatier bit, so we're switching over to the foot there, foot under, foot above, foot under, foot above. I just like to keep it consistent as I go that way. And that's what we're going to end up cutting. So let's go ahead and do that now. These cuts going vertical this way can be a problem sometimes. I'm going to show you how I deal with that problem. So first thing I do is I come along and now the cuts going horizontal like this, don't worry if you get a little bit squiggly. It doesn't really matter because they're going to key into each other. This is going to touch the surface just as it is there. So if you're a little off, not a big deal. It will all glue together just fine, okay? And we're going to start our line and we're going to pull. And now, when we're doing this, these pieces here are going to get cut out because there's going to be our other side will be there. So we got to make sure we cut that out. So with this, we come across here, and this is why sometimes erasing the lines helps. And we're going to pull all the way down and then lift up as we get to the end. And this is going to key here, so we get it right next to our foot. It's pressing right down. And pull this, and so that's our foot. So we can continue this cut for that foot. Just pull up. Key down in. Pull. If you're not comfortable with pulling the knife up like this, you can always turn it around, start at that point again, and clean that up. That's perfectly an acceptable way to make these cuts. Up. We're just going to go through, we're going to make all of these cuts, checking that what we're cutting is correct. Not the end of the world if you cut a foot off. We can always glue it back. It's not optimal. We don't want to have those kinds of breaks in our piece, but if it happens, it happens. It's not the end of the world. And again, it's just foam board. It's a little bit of time, so you can always go back and make a new piece. You know, if you're that much of a perfectionist and you feel you want it perfect, then go ahead and do that. You know, that's the great part of using inexpensive materials. You know, if it was balsa wood, obviously making the wrong cut, you gotta make the new piece again. So it's and it becomes a little more expensive. But we're working foam board, and the reason why we're working foam board is we want to be able to afford to make the mistakes and to continue making as many airframes as we want. Cut to there, and make our last cut to there. Alright, so now we've made all our cuts, but it's still together. Now, you can elevate this. Doesn't really matter what you elevate it up onto. I use the edge of the table, but for this, we're doing it for all y'all. So I come in straight down, and hopefully we can get this on camera. I put it right at that point of that, and I just draw the blade straight down, angle it back a little bit so it makes that cut. And if you were going the other way, you're not sure, you can make that cut that way. If it works, we get that loose piece just like that. Move to our next one, which is the split, and we're going to do the same thing. Again, it doesn't matter if these are perfect, because it doesn't really matter, because everything keys in. And we're just going to continue on through, making our splits and cuts. Really busy out there today, a lot of noise. Just to let you see, if we made our cuts right, we should be able to peel this. You can always check the back. See, we haven't completely cut through there, so I'm just gonna, there we go, use that blade like that, and that should, no, or not. Don't peel too much yet. There we go, that, release that. There we go. We've made our cuts good and through. If it doesn't, don't pull. It means something's happening back here, and we just need to turn it over and finish those cuts off. A lot of times it's already through the foam, it's just the paper that is has not cut all the way through. Excellent, I'm happy there. Okay, I'm just checking that with my thumbnail to see if I've made the cut. Obviously, if you've made a cut, you'll feel that ridge. Excellent. Continuing on down. So this is, you know, it's a little bit time consuming, can be a little tedious for some. This is part of it. Again, pop this out. No, it didn't want to. We got a little bit of paper there. And a tiny bit there. And it should pop right out. Like I said, I normally do this on the edge of the table. It's a little easier to see. So we've got that. Moving on down. Cut. Alright, we've done this right. See how those keys are, these little feet are coming up. We've got some areas that we haven't quite cut through, it looks like. We'll come around to the back, we'll find out where that's at. It's usually, like I said, just the paper that's giving us a little bit of trouble. Not the easiest thing to be holding stuff up in the air while I'm making cuts. And all I'm doing is just cutting through the paper because the foam part's already cut. We just need to get a little release on the paper. Okay. we go. See a little bit here, or this, you know, cut all the way through the paper there. And everything's done. A little bit here. I didn't get a good mark on this one, so I want to make sure I come back from that side. Bada bing, bada boom. I just got a little tabs there, perfect. And again, anywhere that you see that it's not quite clean, you can come in and just clean that up with your razor blade. Make that a nice clean foot. Excellent. So, a little bit here of paper. Let me put these together. Everything keys in where it's supposed to, and that's going to be great. And of course, our other one's going to be in there. So we'll take these, put these aside, grab the other side of our airframe, and we're going to repeat what we did with the lines. Again, just matching up our best lines. Excellent. And then we'll come across, whoops, just like so. Flip this piece and match up our line. Drawing all the way across. And now we're going to cut out, if you need to, we can do a little X, don't cut out, don't cut out, don't cut out. So we know that we're not removing that. You can do it the other way if you want, cut out what you are going to cut out, or put an X on what you are going to cut out. It's completely up to you and how you want to do it. Okay? But it's really important that we don't cut all the way through and we keep it attached. So I'm going to push down here, come and cut across, push down in, come and cut across. We're going to go to the next one, push into that corner. We're going to come and cut across, and we're going to pause, not cut it all the way through. And I'll explain why in just a second. We come through to there. Skip to the next one. Push in, cut straight across, and when we get to about 1/4 of an inch, we stop. You can get closer than 1/4 of an inch. It's up to you. Just as long as we stop before that edge, we're fine. Push down in, come across there. And with these, you know, I mean, glue's going to fill in gaps and stuff like that, but we want to try to keep these as straight as possible. That's why I have the blade angled more. It helps to keep that clean, straight cut as we're pulling along. Okay, so this one I'm going to turn everything over. I'm going to start back from here now. I'm going to push into that corner, and I'm going to come across and match that line. What we're doing here is we're trying to get those corners as clean as possible on the marks, because we really don't want to cut into this area if possible. We're trying to maintain as much strength and integrity as possible, and by doing this press and pull this way, we're pretty much guaranteeing that we're not cutting into that. So that's why on these it's very important. On the other ones, not so important, other than we don't want to cut our feet off. And then this last one, because we're going away and we're cutting off, that's why we didn't cut from this side going this way. we're just going to make that nice clean cut down and straight on off. And then again, we go to our cutting off the table in this case. And this, for me, I'm going to do it off of this little mini anvil. And we come along like this and cut that off. Perfect. It popped right out. Go to the next one. Okay, I felt just a little release as I got to that other line. You'll feel, you know, as you push down, you'll feel pressure, and then as I drag along, just feel it, like that, pop right out. Okay, so I don't think, yeah, see, we didn't cut all the way through on our paper there. So we'll just come in, we'll just run the blade down to make sure we've cut that paper, and the piece should just pop right out like it did. Okay, keep moving along. So you'll hear me refer to, on the other side there, you know, I call them feet, or I call them keys. And the reason why I call them keys is because these are keyholes, places where the keys go into. So it's just terminology. You call them whatever you'd like, just as long as you know what's going on. For me, I use my terminology. It comes from drafting and theater and stuff like that. Places that I've worked, things that I've done things where these terms are used, and it just makes it easier for my brain. But if you find that you've got some other experience with something that leads you to a different terminology, by all means use that terminology. It's really the only importance is that you know what you're talking about, what you're referring to when you're talking to your own brain. Okay, a couple more cuts here. Come down, there we go. Last one. If you do this right, it should pop right out. Just like that. Pop out this one. Let's see what we got going on. A little crooked in the cut, not a big deal. Come down, just clean that up. Should pop right out. Close enough. Clean up that. Alright. So what we're left with is the holes in there. And if we've done this right, we should have pieces that key right on in, just like so. A lot of times it's just the paper here, so we can just give a light pinch. Sometimes the paper flares when we cut it and pull on it and stuff like that. So just by just pinching it just slightly allows it to key in. There we go. Nice and snug, which is exactly what we want to have happen. Make sure our ends are sitting nice. Everything matching up. Looks good. Almost squares itself. It's just not sitting down completely on this side, which if we just press down in, we got a little resistance right here. There we go. And what this is going to do is going to square everything up, flatten everything when we go to glue it. And that's basically what's going to happen with our airframe. We should be able to, just for funsies, we're not going to glue it in this video. We'll go to the next video for that. And I always take these to the edge of the table when I've got one piece in like that. Helps to get it going. And this should get a little wiggle. It's nice and tight, which I like. I like a good tight little fit on this. It means it's going to line up real nice. A little feed in here. Give them little wiggles. I'm not pinching hard or pushing hard. I'm letting it settle into itself. All right. So looking pretty dang good, nice and square. This is our airframe. We're not gluing it in yet because we still need to cut our control surfaces. And once we get that, then we can glue all this together. We'll be pressing, we'll be checking for square on everything, making sure that everything's settled in. Nice and easy. Obviously, this is going to go together a lot easier once we peel this paper. It's going to make a huge difference getting it in. You know, we got some little imperfections. We'll see once we peel paper what that is. You can always come in and sand those little things if it really bothers us. Airframe sits real nice. This is the great part about it is when the tail is down, it's not going to drag. We are going to put wheels on it, which means it's going to come up just a little bit like that. Still, again, why I like to undercut is I don't have to worry about the control surfaces and the tail dragging on the ground, which is super important. So these become our drags here. It's going to be nice and beautiful. Works real well. And so there's our airframe. Again, this is based off, I've been saying the velocity, and I corrected myself last night and corrected the terminology in the taglines and whatnot of the video. But this is based off the Proxy by Twisted Hobbies. It's just my little take on it, my little twist on it. We are going to taper these lines here so that we get more meat when we go to glue the wing on. And that's all stuff we're going to do in the next video as we prep the frame, and then we'll glue it up in the next video, as well as changing this. Okay, the little tag is kind of cool and everything. I thought in the beginning it was going to maybe push out and create a little extra, kind of like this does. It doesn't. So that's the reality of it. So the more I think about it, the more I want more control area for this. So I'm just going to take that and make a straighter line here. We are going to put some carbon fiber in here. We'll see if this surface needs it. I don't think it will with this this cutout angle here. I think that is going to tend to make this nice and strong. But it's this here, you know, as it goes along in the air, we're going to get just that little bit of flex. So we'll probably put a piece of carbon fiber down here and down through. It's going to make that tail section really, really, really strong. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you all had a great time. You've enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed making it. And so as I always say, go make it. You can do it. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.